And thanks, Tucker, and welcome to Hannity, the great one, a rare appearance, Mark Levin. He'll be here in just a minute, but first, it's time to cut through all the clutter, break down what we know about wiretapping and politically motivated investigation by the Obama administration. And that is tonight's opening monologue. All right, so over the weekend, President Donald Trump set off a firestorm. He tweeted the following, quote, "How low has President Obama gone to tap my phones during the very sacred election process? This Nixon, Watergate, bad or sick guy?" Now, predictably, the left, Democrats, their cronies at the alt-left propaganda, destroy Trump media, they went into full-on meltdown mode and declared the president to be a liar once again. Now, there's also been some pushback from the FBI Director James Comey. We'll get to that in a minute. And now, for weeks on this program, on my radio show, I've been discussing what I call Obama's shadow government and the career bureaucrats who are actively working against President Trump from inside the government. Many of these are people that are President Obama holdovers. And I've been telling you about we, the people, that there are other people in the intelligence community purposely leaking information to try and damage and destroy President Trump and the advisors, of course, that surround him. One by one, every advisor. They have been smeared. They have been slandered. They have been besmirched. Even his children, even his wife and daughter. We've also been reporting on how the alt-left propaganda, destroy Trump media, is colluding with these leakers and deep state bureaucrats with the sole purpose of stopping President Trump's agenda to try and delegitimize the president with the hopes of eventually removing the president from power, overturning a free election. Now, is this a conspiracy theory, paranoia? No. Why? There's a disturbing pattern that's going on here. Now, let's take a look at the case of former Trump National Security Advisor. That's retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Remember news reports? A December call Flynn made to the Russian ambassador, captured by what the New York Times described as a, quote, routine wiretap of Russian diplomats and that phone. Well, now, it's not out of the ordinary, by the way, of our government to monitor foreign officials. That's a smart thing they do. But protections, which are known as minimization procedures, have been put in place to protect Americans that are not under warrant, American citizens that are caught up in their surveillance. And by the way, that their identities are protected, their constitutional rights are to be protected. Now, this, of course, was not the case with Lieutenant General Flynn, because we know a transcript of his call was created and then given to intelligence officials who then leaked this information, which is a felony, to the press that printed it. Now, back in February, when all this was going down, the House Intelligence Committee chairman, and that's Congressman Devin Nunes, he called it, quote, unprecedented. And then he joined us on this show to explain. Let's take a look. Isn't this the type of thing where if you have rogue intelligence people and they're illegally intercepting phone calls of Americans, that's illegal. And this, in other words, if in fact they wanted to get the intel or, for example, hack into the phone of, in this particular case, General Flynn, wouldn't they have to get a court subpoena to do so?
That's correct. And I am not aware that they did that. So my guess is that the intelligence agencies did not do this. What I'm assuming is that this was picked up as they were tracking someone else. And if that's the case, that would have had to go up to the highest levels of the Obama administration to get approval to unmask who that person is. And in this case, it was General Flynn.
Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, Fox News has not been able to confirm this, but the day before the election, November 7th, 2016, the website Heat Street, they published a report. It had the following headline, quote, exclusive, FBI granted FISA warrant covering Trump camp's ties to Russia. And according to Heat Street, in October 2016, the Obama administration went to the FISA court, which grants warrants for surveillance for potential spies or terrorists to monitor, which Heat Street described as, quote, U.S. persons in Donald Trump's campaign with ties to Russia. Now, this was part of a larger probe into Russian banks. Now, other outlets like the BBC, The Guardian, have also reported that a FISA court warrant was, in fact, granted. And this is not an isolated incident either. There are countless examples of various federal agencies under President Obama looking into activities of intercepting communications with people associated with the Trump campaign. For example, McClatchy, D.C., posted a story back in January, headline, quote, FBI, 5 other agencies probe possible covert Kremlin aid to Trump. On the day of the inauguration, January 20th, the front page of the New York Times ran an article with this headline, wiretap data used in inquiry of Trump aides. There's also explosive reports from The Times. The alt-left propaganda, destroy Trump at all costs media has given very little coverage to. In other words, it's not the right-wing conspiracy, it's them. It reads in part, quote, in its final days, the Obama administration expanded the power of the National Security Agency to share globally intercepted personal communications with the government's 16 other intelligence agencies before applying privacy protections. Now, why would President Obama wait until the last minute, 2 weeks before he's leaving office, to issue that order? An order that did not apply to him for 8 years? To me, the opinion is obvious. He wanted as much information, whether it's true or not, to be available to his appointed deep state shadow government officials so they can do exactly what we're seeing, leak it to the press and try and hurt the president with less likelihood that they're going to get caught. Now, listen closely as I read this statement that was released by Obama's spokesperson over the weekend. Pay very close attention. A cardinal rule of the Obama administration was that no White House official ever interfered with any independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. As part of that practice, neither President Obama nor any White House official ever, keywords, ordered surveillance on any U.S. citizen. Any suggestion otherwise is simply false. Okay, they didn't order it. Did they know about it? That statement never said that President Obama did not know about it, just that he didn't order it. Even President Obama's former speechwriter noted this on Twitter this past weekend. Now, the question that we need answered is very simple and very basic, and it's this. Did, in fact, the President of the United States, what did he know and when did he know it? In other words, did the President have any answers about the surveillance of an opposition candidate in the middle of an election? Now, the American people deserve the truth, but he doesn't have much credibility on the issue. Why? Because his administration wiretapped the phone of our own colleague, James Rosen. There's also former Attorney General Michael Mukasey, who knows a thing or two about this entire process. Here's what he said.
This is the difference between being correct and being right. I think the president was not correct, certainly, in saying that President Obama ordered a tap on a server in Trump Tower. However, I think he's right in that there was surveillance and that it was conducted at the behest of the Justice Department through the FISA court.
And what do you base that on?
I base that on news reports that you mentioned in the last spot. I also base it on a kind of inadvertent blurting out by Adam Schiff that his committee wants to talk to the counterintelligence agents at the FBI who were involved in this. Now, what that means is that this is part not of a criminal investigation, but of an intelligence gathering investigation.
By the way, didn't she cry the night of election night? All right, we'll put that aside. All right, on top of all of this, there's a bunch of other questions that need answers. What did President Obama know about these reported, New York Times reported FISA requests targeting associates of then-candidate Donald Trump? Now, to me, what happened to retired Lieutenant General Flynn and what we are now seeing with all these other intelligence leaks, this is a canary in a coal mine. This accusation that President Trump made is serious. We need to get to the bottom of what the truth is and where all of this came from and who knew what, when, and where.